my friends, how are we all doing? So for today's video I am not very much prepared because I would really love this to be an open discussion on the topic of annotating, because so many of you have been asking me for quite a long while to tell you about my annotating process, whether I annotate or why I annotate, and I just thought that it would be lovely to sit down with you and have a little discussion, because I would really love to hear your thoughts and comments on this topic. I would love to know whether you annotate, when did you start it, how do you annotate, what is your favorite part of it, and just so many questions. And then if there is anything else regarding this topic you would like to share, please just pop it in the comment, because I'm very much interested in this topic as well. So without further ado, if you have some tea or biscuits or coffee or whatever, please make it yourself comfortable and let's talk a little bit about this, because as I said, I did not prepare it very much, also for the reason that I do not really have a big system regarding annotating. The way I do it is, I think, slightly different from other people, and also for different reasons, and it really varies from what I read currently. I do have different approach for annotating non-fiction than fiction, and also poetry, and I would just like to sit down with you and show you some examples, and also just have very free chat with you about how do I do it. So I really hope it's going to be interesting for you, and without further ado I will just start. So one of the reasons why I started with annotating in the first place a couple years ago, or I believe it was maybe like 2 years ago, especially when I started with booktube, because annotating is really a great way how you can remember more about the books and about the stories you are reading. And personally for me, I was not very interested in this prior to booktube, because I was reading books. First of all, I wasn't reading as much as reading now, but now it really is helping, especially when I'm doing, for example, reading wrap up, and then it helps me to remember more of the characters of the story, and then some special notes I special notes I took on each of the stories. But I would say that the main reason why I started was highlighting the quotes, because I am very much sentimental person, and I do absolutely love to highlight different quotes and sentences in the books. And very quickly I realized that writing down just 1 or 2 quotes from the book was just not enough for me, so I started to write or highlight them directly in the books. And very good example of this would be Still Life, which is highlighting only the quotes, literally in this case, and there is absolutely no special system about the coloring of these tabs, if you would be wondering. I just simply did not have enough of the blue colors, because sometimes I like to match the cover of the book, and I did not have the blue ones, so I went with green ones, and then when I ran out of the green ones I used the orange one, because orange parrot. I mean, what can I say? There is nothing more behind it, in this case at least. Sometimes I do have reasons why I use certain colors, and I will be speaking about it in a second, but for this book only I was using basically any color I could find. And I also did highlight several. For example, here is one of my favorite quotes from the book, which I highlighted with the pen, and it took me quite a while to be brave enough to write into the book directly with either pen or pencil, especially the pen, but it's something very freeing about this when you make this book just your own and you have your own notes in that. So that would be one of the reasons, the quotes, because I really did want to highlight very lovely sentences and quotes, and in this book especially, because this book is full of really wonderful sentences. And then when it comes to fiction in general, I know that many booktubers or people whose videos I've been watching about annotating, they very often in fiction highlight, for example, characters or magic system on locations, and this is not something I ever done before. I usually use my reading journal for this, but I will be speaking about reading journal in a second. But for example, Still Life was just about the quotes and highlighting the quotes. When it comes to non-fiction, this is actually a good example. I have a book called The Meaning in the Making, which I read in January, and it's a non-fiction book about photography and creativity and arts. And here I do have a reason why I'm using certain colors, and I wrote little sort of like index for this in the beginning of the book. And for example, the blue one is for resources to check. So whenever I'm reading non-fiction, every single time there is the author or characters or whatever is happening in the book, very often it gives you some other resources you can check, because they are talking about them in the book. So for example, here, if author Sean Tucker was talking about some certain piece of art or photograph or something, or maybe some artist, I just put their blue tab, and I knew that it's something I wanted to Google later on and I wanted to check later on. Then for example, the orange, that's for a specific topic. So for example, because Sean Tucker, he was also very much involved in church, there was a lot of writing about the faith and church and God and all of these sort of things, and it's something I'm very interested in because I'm Christian myself. So for example, the orange one are regarding this topic. Pink one, usually this is the same for every single book I'm annotating. If I'm using a pink tab, it's because I really liked something or it was something really beautiful, and especially in the poetry there is so many pink tabs, but I will show you later. And then the yellow one, it's for notes. So if there was something from what he was saying regarding, let's say, I don't know, exposure in photography or how to use the camera and some technicalities, or then something regarding art, and it was just something with a certain knowledge and something I wanted to remember and I wanted to write more comments on it, those would be with yellow ones. And in this book concretely, I was using pencil to annotate into it, and I'm trying to find something. For example, I was also underlining stuff quite a lot, so I would use the tabs but also writing directly into the book. So that is for the non-fiction, and that is pretty much similar for every single non-fiction I read. So I do have specific colors and they all mean something, and it's mostly for highlighting, for example, future resources or then some concrete topic, or then just simply for writing a notes into it. And then moving to a poetry, when I'm using the tabs, for example, this is a book called Watering the Soul by Courtney Peppernell. I absolutely love this author, and the previous collection called Pillow Thoughts. If you haven't heard me talking about this book, then I don't know what happened, because I'm praising this collection for ages here and I absolutely love it. And this is an example when, once again, I did have a certain system regarding the colors. Same with the Pillow Thoughts. For example, the pink one, as I mentioned, those were the pieces I absolutely loved. But it also varies because every single, you know, book of poetry or even fiction or non-fiction, there is about something else. So for example, this one is about healing your own soul and about love and self-love and self-worth. Same as the Pillow Thoughts collection is mostly about love and different forms of love. So here I use the pink ones to highlight the stuff I really loved and it was beautifully written, and then the blue ones, because it was, you know, regarding love and also something very sensitive. Blue ones usually were for highlighting some sad stuff or something which was making me a little bit emotional. Then the orange ones are for the notes and something I wanted to highlight and write some comments on it. And then the yellow ones were for hope. If there was something that kind of cheered me up or gave me something to think about regarding future or something really hopeful, I like to use the yellow one. And especially in the Pillow Thoughts, I did have a lot of yellow tabs used in this. So those are the three examples of fiction, non-fiction and poetry when I'm using the tabs. As I mentioned, it really varies regarding the books and also regarding the genre, and most of the time I just do like to use these tabs and then underline certain sentences. It's very rare that I would be writing into the book, but then, for example, in the meaning in the making, I'm trying to find the passages where I was writing into it directly, but I was using just the pencil because I was very scared to damage the book. But now with the time, as the time passes and I'm doing this more and more, I definitely do not look at annotating as something that would be damaging the book, but rather something as making it your own and making it special in a way. Anyway, so those would be to the tabs and annotating into the books. And then I have another way how I annotate book, and that is through reading journal or writing something which is not directly into the book. And reading journal, I started this one when I started the booktube in the March last year, and I do have several videos on this if you would like to check it out. And I will very briefly show you the system because this is the first time I'm actually keeping like reading journal properly, and I wanted to have very clear system on this. So basically every single spread is very much similar to the previous one, or there is, let's say, the same structure for the pages. So for example, here I will show you as soon as I can find it. So for example, here on these two pages, so basically every single page in my reading journal looks pretty much the same. I do have a picture of the book, I have a star rating, I have the author, genre, the pages, then I have very brief description of the story, and then here I put all my notes on the reviews, and I write out the trigger warnings and themes. And some notes are quite short ones, but then some of them in the previous pages are much longer. And then I also like to write down one of my favorite quotes. in the reading journal. And reading journal is absolutely lovely way how you can spend time, how you can remember more from the books, and also how you can de-stress a little bit and take your mind off things. And it really is great because you are not really limited with the space you have on the page, because when you're writing something into the book you will have only as much space as, you know, the page of the book will allow you. But then here in the reading journal you can write about one book for 3 or 4 pages, and you can write some just very brief description. So this is one of the reasons why I really love a reading journal. When it comes to props and materials I'm using, there is literally nothing special behind it, especially when it comes to writing directly into the books. I use 3 things for this, and those are the colorful tabs, pen or pencil, and that depends whether I'm brave enough to go into it with pen or just a pencil. But that's for annotating into the books. And then when I do it into my reading journal, that's slightly different story, because for me it's as I said, the way of therapy, and I just really enjoy doing it. And I really love to have you know, maybe sometimes paintings, or just put different pictures and do different collages. And it's just really a way for me how not to only remember more information from the story I read, but also how to play a little bit creatively with this. So it's something I would really highly encourage you to try and do yourself. Okay, my friends, I think these are the main things I wanted to mention regarding the annotating. I hope this video was at least a little bit enjoyable for you, because this was not any sort of like tutorial or anything about how to annotate, but rather how I do it personally, because so many of you were asking, and you can really do it in any way you would like to. You can write into the books directly, you can use tabs, you can use notes. Also, one of the things how I do it, but it's also different because of the type of the book. For example, when I'm reading the book containing short stories, which is something I'm doing now with Daphne du Maurier collection called Birds, I do have little like sticky paper, and I write my notes about every single story into that paper, and then I stick it on the front page of every single story. And that's another way how you can do it. I will also write into my reading journal, because my reading journal is something I'm using for every single book and every single story. So no matter if or not I'm annotating into the book, I'm always using my reading journal. But then sometimes I do like to annotate into the books directly, and I would really like to try to annotate a book in which I would go really deeper into the story. I was thinking maybe doing like Three Musketeers annotating and read it once again, but then really do like proper annotating when you do annotate, you know, like characters, locations, and all of these things. So that's a little something I would like to try myself. But for now, as I said, I do not really have any specific system. I just really go with what I feel is right in the moment and what is really matching the book and whatever I'm reading, whether it's non-fiction or fiction. So I would really highly recommend you to give this a try if you haven't, because it's a great way how to remember information about the book and also spend time creatively, especially when you're doing it through the reading journal. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know in the comments, as I mentioned, whether you annotate, how you annotate, when did you start it, why did you start, and if you do, for example, a reading journal, because I would really love to know. And without further ado, I will just say bye, take care, and I will see you with another video very soon. Bye bye!